You've been walking around smiling, shaking hands, showing up, putting on your best face, but behind the scenes, you're bleeding from places nobody can see, smiling on the outside, but shattered on the inside. And you've gotten real good at hiding, real good at dressing it up, tucking it away, and pretending like it doesn't hurt anymore. But let me tell you something. Pain that's hidden is still pain. Brokenness that's buried is still broken. You can't outrun what's happening in your soul. And some of you, you've been trying to fix it yourself. Trying to patch it up with distractions, with busy schedules, with people who can't carry the weight of your wounds. But a broken spirit can't be healed with surface solutions. A fractured heart can't be mended with fake smiles. This is deeper. This is soul work. And what needs to happen ain't gonna happen by pretending it's not there. You were never meant to carry this alone. You were never meant to live in pieces. Yes, life hit you hard. Yes, they walked away. Yes, you trusted them and they dropped you. But your story doesn't stop there. Just because you're broken doesn't mean you're beyond repair. Broken doesn't mean worthless. Broken doesn't mean forgotten. It means you are in transition. It means something is shifting, something is happening even in the pain. You've cried tears in silence. You've wrestled with doubt in the dark. But here's the truth. What broke you doesn't have the power to define you unless you let it. Stop rehearsing the pain. Stop reliving the trauma. Stop giving that moment the authority to write the rest of your story. You've got to open up that broken place, not to the world, but to the healing that's waiting for you. Healing that doesn't just put you back together the way you were, but restores you stronger, wiser, better. You've got purpose in your pain. There's destiny in your damage, but you'll never see it if you keep pretending you're fine. Don't be afraid of the breaking, because the breaking is where the blessing starts. You've got to be willing to say, I'm not okay, so the real healing can begin. Wholeness is calling. Restoration is knocking. Will you answer? Will you let the healing begin? Will you open up the pieces and let yourself be made whole again? Pretending you're okay doesn't heal what's broken inside. True healing starts with acknowledging the hurt. Distractions and denial won't restore your soul. Deep healing requires deeper surrender. Being broken doesn't mean you're done. It means you're in transition, on the path to being rebuilt stronger. What hurt you doesn't have the authority to dictate your destiny. You have power to rise beyond it. Real restoration starts when you stop faking strength and allow yourself to be vulnerable and open to change. You can walk around every day, dressed up in your best, showing up for people, checking all the boxes, doing what's expected, but that doesn't mean you're not hurting. It's possible to laugh and still be limping. It's possible to function and still be fractured. And for many of us, that's exactly where we are. We've mastered the art of survival, of smiling through the storm, of looking like we've got it together while falling apart behind closed doors. Just because you've learned to hide the pain doesn't mean it's gone. Hidden pain is still real pain. You can't heal what you won't admit. You can't mend what you keep masking. And you can't move forward while dragging unspoken wounds behind you. Some of the deepest wounds aren't the ones that show up in scans or stitches. They're the ones carried in silence. They're the disappointments no one saw, the betrayals you never spoke about, the trauma you learned to tuck away because you thought no one would understand. You convinced yourself it wasn't that bad. You told yourself to get over it, to be strong, to be tough. And maybe that worked for a while. But strength is not the absence of pain. Real strength is being able to acknowledge the pain and still trust that healing is possible. See, when you ignore your pain, you're not escaping it. You're just letting it fester. You're giving it room to grow roots in your mind, your emotions, your decisions. That pain starts to whisper lies to you. It tells you you're not enough, that you're unworthy, that you're too broken to be loved, too damaged to be restored. And because you've never dealt with it, you start to believe those lies. You start living small, doubting yourself, sabotaging opportunities, pushing people away, because something inside still hurts and you're too afraid to face it. But pain doesn't lose power because you ignore it. In fact, the opposite happens. Pain that's hidden becomes the architect of your behavior. It builds walls, it creates fears, it limits your vision. That's why healing begins not with answers, but with honesty. It's not about pretending you're okay. It's about being brave enough to say, I'm not. Not for sympathy, not for attention, but because you know that what stays hidden can never be healed. There is no shame in being hurt. There's no weakness in being broken. What matters is what you do with that brokenness. Are you going to carry it like a badge of shame, or are you going to confront it so you can be free? You weren't meant to live in a prison of hidden pain. You weren't created to keep functioning on fumes, trying to be everything for everyone while your soul is screaming for help. There comes a moment when you have to stop dressing the wound and start dealing with it. That moment comes when you realize the pain hasn't left. It's just been quiet. And quiet doesn't mean healed. We've been conditioned to believe that silence is strength. And if you're not talking about it, you've overcome it. But sometimes silence is survival. Sometimes silence is just a wall built to protect what still aches. And while that wall might keep others from seeing your pain, it also keeps out the healing that wants to come in. You can't receive help with your hands full of secrets. You can't walk in wholeness while you're still protecting the parts of you that need to be restored. And I know it's hard to open up. It's scary to revisit what you buried. But what's scarier is staying stuck. What's scarier is living your whole life bound by something you were too afraid to confront. Your healing is on the other side of your honesty, not your perfection, not your image. Your honesty, that quiet whisper inside you that says, this still hurts. That soft cry that says, I need help. That moment of truth that says, I can't do this alone. There is power in that kind of vulnerability. Power to shift your story. Power to break cycles. Power to finally breathe again. And until you're willing to stop pretending, you'll keep bleeding beneath the surface. You'll keep living in pieces while everyone thinks you're whole. But you weren't meant to just survive. You were meant to be free. And freedom doesn't come from faking it. It comes from facing it. Because hidden pain doesn't disappear. It just delays the healing. You can't put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound and expect it to heal. You can't pour perfume over something rotting and expect the smell to go away. But that's what we try to do when we're dealing with pain on the inside. We reach for distractions, for temporary relief, for whatever helps us feel better, even if it doesn't make us be better. We turn to busyness, to achievement, to relationships, to habits that numb us, just trying to avoid the real work. But surface solutions can't fix deep wounds. You can dress it up, but if you don't deal with it, it'll still bleed underneath the costume. Some wounds go all the way back: childhood, betrayal, abandonment, rejection, trauma you never wanted to name. And instead of confronting the root, we keep trimming the leaves. We try to control everything around us so we don't have to face what's happening inside us. We overwork, overthink, overextend ourselves, thinking if we just do more, we'll feel better. But you can't outwork your wound. You can't outperform your pain. There comes a time when all the doing stops working, when the applause feels empty, when the distractions lose their flavor. And that's when you realize you've been trying to fix something spiritual with something superficial. Some of us have built whole lives on broken foundations. We've made success our medicine, people our healing, control our protection, but nothing external can fill an internal void. You can get the job, the house, the relationship, and still feel empty if the wound hasn't been touched. You'll keep running into the same pain in different faces, the same heartbreak in different places. You'll wonder why every room feels like a repeat, why every season circles back to the same struggle. It's not the world around you. It's the wound within you. And until that's addressed, no amount of makeup will hide the scar you're afraid to reveal. That's the hard truth. But it's also the start of freedom. Because the moment you admit that surface fixes aren't working is the moment you get closer to true healing. It's not weakness to say, I've been covering it, but I'm still hurting. That's strength. That's courage. That's honesty. And honesty is the soil where healing grows. You can't plant seeds of wholeness in a soul full of denial. You've got to break the ground, let the light in, expose the wound, not to shame it, but to set it free. We live in a world that rewards appearance. That praises the image of success even when it's hollow. But what's the point of looking whole if you're living broken? Off for living broken. What's the point of having everything together on the outside while crumbling on the inside? You can't build real joy on fake peace. You can't sustain real relationships when your heart's still locked in survival mode. People can't love you if you won't let them see you. And you won't let them see you until you stop trying to hide behind surface solutions. Sometimes healing doesn't look like progress. It looks like sitting still and finally facing the thing you've been avoiding. It looks like letting the tears fall, letting the guard down, letting the pain speak, and not running from it, not silencing it, because there's wisdom in your wounds. There's revelation in your brokenness. And if you keep bearing it, you'll keep missing what it came to teach you. It's okay to need more than a motivational quote. It's okay if a vacation doesn't fix it. It's okay if the new relationship didn't heal the old wound. That doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. It means the wound was deeper than you thought. It means healing isn't about escape. It's about surrender. Surrendering the need to have it all together. Surrendering the pride that says you're fine. Surrendering the fear that says if you face it, it'll break you. But it won't. What breaks you open is what can build you whole again. There's a kind of restoration that only comes when you get tired of pretending. When you finally say, I don't want to look healed, I want to be healed. Being healed means dealing with the root, not just the fruit. Letting yourself feel what you never gave yourself permission to feel. Grieving what you never allowed yourself to grieve. Forgiving what you thought you'd forgotten. That's not weakness, that's deep work. That's sacred work. And until you do it, you'll keep searching for surface fixes for soul-deep pain. Being broken doesn't mean you're finished. It doesn't mean you're useless. It doesn't mean you're useless. It doesn't mean your story is over. It means you've been through something. It means life hit you, but you're still here. It means the storm didn't destroy you. It revealed you. There's something powerful about being broken. It strips away the illusion, it peels back the layers, and it shows you who you really are underneath all the noise. It shows you what you're made of. And sometimes it's only when we're broken that we truly see our own strength. But we live in a world that teaches us to fear brokenness. What hurt you doesn't have the right to name you. The pain you went through, the betrayal, the failure, the abandonment, none of that has the authority to define who you are or what your future will be. But here's the truth. If you're not careful, pain will start writing your story. Not just the chapter it belongs to, but the whole book. And without even realizing it, you start making decisions from a place of hurt. You build your life not on hope, but on defense. You don't move with faith, you move with fear, because somewhere along the way, you let what broke you become your identity. You're not what they did to you. You're not the mistake you made. You're not the job you lost. The relationship that ended, or the trust that got shattered. That was a moment. That was a page. That was a part of the process, but it is not your whole name. But pain, if you don't deal with it, will try to convince you that it is. It'll whisper to you in the quiet moments. It'll tell you you're not good enough, that you'll never recover, that you'll always be stuck right here. It'll shape the way you see yourself, the way you talk to yourself, and the way you carry yourself. And before long, you're living in the shadow of what happened instead of the light of what's possible. Pain is loud. It echoes. It repeats. And if you don't confront it, it becomes the lens through which you see everything. It tells you to keep your guard up. It tells you to push people away. It tells you to settle for less because reaching for more feels too risky. And slowly, without even realizing it, you shrink. The name that sees the whole you, not just the hurting you. Because when you reclaim that identity, pain becomes part of the story, not the author of it. And when you stop letting pain define you, you start living like the person you were always meant to be. Real restoration doesn't begin when everything is fine. It doesn't start when life is polished and pretty. It begins when you get honest. Honest with yourself. Honest about what still hurts, what's still heavy, what you're still holding on to. Healing doesn't come through pretending. Healing doesn't show up because you've managed to fool the world into thinking you're strong. Healing starts when you're willing to say, I'm not okay. That's where it begins. Not in your perfection, but in your permission. The permission you give yourself to be vulnerable, to feel, to cry, to admit that something on the inside still needs tending. We live in a world that praises strength, but misunderstands what strength really is. Strength is not stuffing your pain down so deep that even you can't find it anymore. Strength is not performing through your brokenness while silently bleeding out. Strength is not silence. Strength is truth. Strength is standing in the mirror and saying, this thing still bothers me, or I never healed from that. That's where the shift begins. That's where the work. You were created to heal, but healing isn't passive. It's intentional. It's the choice to stop faking and start facing. It's in those quiet, raw, honest moments when you let your guard down and let the tears fall that the real work happens. That's where transformation is born.